Good evening, everyone. It's time for the live reading of Game Change by John Hilleman, Mark Halperin, and it's about the former President Obama and the Clintons, McCain and Palin, and the race of a lifetime. We left off at chapter 5, sort of in the middle of 5. I'm not sure that I'm going to complete chapter 5 tonight because I don't have that much time to put into it tonight. But then there will also be a random reading from Ain't No Trust. So that's going to probably be 1 or 2 paragraphs. Hopefully I won't accidentally delete this video. Alright, so last night we left off where, oh yes, something came out about the Clintons, I believe, and they fired back, and it turned out to be a media disaster, and everybody's quiet now. I'm kind of tired. It's been a long day. So I think I'll keep that little music on in the background. It's not that loud. So, the semi-official rules of engagement in Hillary land, particularly post-Geffen, were not to take on Obama directly for fear that it would only enhance his stature, but Penn and Bill Clinton formed a kind of dissident super committee of 2. They were talking offline constantly, with Penn stovepiping data and analysis to the former president, each reinforcing the other's urgent certainty that something had to be done. Penn saw Obama as a phenomenon, and in his experience, phenomena had to be quashed early before the myths around them grew so potent they were undeflatable. Clinton, too, was increasingly outraged over what she saw as the fawning press coverage of Obama. She probably was getting a little jealous of that. It reminded him of 1992. The way the media slobbered over his rival Paul Tsongas as the candidate of ideas and principle, when, in Clinton's opinion, Tsongas was neither. So I think they're saying Bill Clinton. It's Bill Clinton, not Hillary Clinton, that's getting a little concerned about all of the press fawning over Obama, to use their terminology. Okay, but unlike Tsongas and Bill Bradley, 2 classic progressive reform candidates whom Obama resembled in his outlook and platform, the Illinois senator was certain to capture a large chunk of the black vote, a constituency that has always been a bedrock for the Clintons. In January, an ABC News Washington Post poll put Hillary ahead of Obama by a margin of 60 to 20% among black voters nationally. A month later, her lead had shrunk to 44 to 33. Penn and Bill agreed they needed a stopper, something that would allow the campaign to kill Obama in the cradle. The stopper they seized on was Obama's record on Iraq. Without a majority of the black vote, Hillary would need to perform better among white liberals, and one way to make that happen would be to take Obama down a peg in their eyes. Penn observed that Obama's anti-war image was based almost entirely on his 2002 speech. His voting record in the Senate on Iraq was nearly identical to Hillary's. Now the campaign's research team discovered a pair of potentially damaging quotes from 2004. "I'm not privy to Senate intelligence reports. What would I have done? I don't know," Obama said when asked how he would have voted on authorizing the war had he been in the Senate at the time. "And there's not much of a difference between my position on Iraq and George Bush's position at this stage." To Penn and Bill, the quotes seemed like manna from heaven. The Hillary Land press shop went into overdrive trying to peddle them to the media, but reporters evinced scant interest. Bill monitored the situation closely, asking for regular updates about any progress in pushing the story, growing increasingly frustrated when it failed to click. Told that a journalist did consider it news, he would wail. "Why not?" I'm sorry, let me read that again. Told that journalists did not consider it news, he would wail, "Why not? Why not?" That so few reporters were biting reinforced his and Penn's conviction that Obama was getting a free ride. Excuse me. Invited to speak at a forum at Harvard on March 19th, along with the top strategists from the other campaigns, Penn decided it was time to take off the gloves and go public. Suspecting that the rest of Hillary's team would disagree, he chose not to consult them. He did seek permission from Bill Clinton, though, and Bill Clinton was all for it. That night at Harvard, Penn sat on stage with Axelrod and Jonathan Prince, the deputy manager of the Edwards campaign, and waited for his opening. Helpfully, one of the students in the audience asked about Hillary's war vote, and Penn launched into his spiel about Obama, citing both of the quotes that the research team had unearthed. Axelrod, annoyed. Okay, my storage is almost full on the phone. I don't know what I'm supposed to do about that at this point. But anyway, let me get back to this. We'll see what happens. Okay, so helpfully, one of the students in the audience asked about Hillary's war vote, and Penn launched into his spiel about Obama, citing both of the quotes that the research team had unearthed. Axelrod, annoyed, sought to clarify Obama's comments, then lectured Penn. I really think that this is important. If we're going to run the kind of campaign that would unify our party and move this country forward, that we do it in an honest way, and that was not an honest tactic. Penn didn't care. That was a well-played segment, he thought. Okay, it's hot. Okay, there we go. I need a fan on me. And the segment wasn't over. The next day, on a conference call with a group of Hillary's bundlers, to which a reporter was conveniently allowed to listen, Bill Clinton echoed Penn. "I don't have a problem with anything Barack Obama said on this," Clinton stated. But to characterize Hillary and Obama's positions on the war as polar opposites is ludicrous. This dichotomy that's been set up to allow him to become the raging hero of the anti-war crowd on the internet is just factually inaccurate. Hillaryland was livid at the freelancing. On a morning conference call of the High Command, Wolfson and the rest pummeled Penn for going off the reservation for a maladroit attempt to drive a story for which the press had no appetite. They believed that Iraq was a losing issue for Hillary. They wanted not to talk about it. Penn defended himself, saying that Bill Clinton had signed off on the offensive. "Who's running this fucking campaign?" Tandon complained to Solly Doyle. Where Hillary stood on the super committee's frustrations and efforts was unclear to her other advisors, though she seemed to approve of Penn's ploy and had no doubt that Obama was having it both ways on the war. She was hesitant to raise the matter herself in a speech or at a press conference. And without her front and center, the issue was going nowhere. What it all added up to, the staff conflict, the one-off nature of the hit, the reluctance of Hillary to take the lead, was an early example of how hard the Clintonites would find it to put an effective negative frame on Obama. The difficulty became all of the greater 2 weeks later when on April 4th, Obama's campaign released its fundraising totals for the first quarter of the year. A few days earlier, the Clinton team had unveiled its numbers. $36 million, a staggering sounding sum that turned out to be somewhat less than it appeared. Roughly $10 million of that was left over from Hillary's Senate re-election campaign, and another $6 million was for use only in the general election if she got there, leaving about $20 million in fresh cash for the nomination contest. The Obama numbers total $25 million. For the primaries, $23.5 million from a far broader base of donors. The reaction in Hillaryland was confusion and shock. All along, a core predicate of Clinton's campaign was that she would possess a major financial advantage over everyone in the field. Now that was seriously in question, and Hillary was staring down the barrel of an objective, quantifiable metric of how redoubtable a combatant Obama would be. A series of frantic conference calls ensued in which Clinton demanded answers. "This is a big deal, guys," she said grimly. "How did it happen? Someone explain this to me. We have to do better." Clinton wanted to believe Obama's first quarter numbers were a fluke, but when he beat her again in the second quarter by even more than in the first, 31 million to 21 million this time. Panic set in. One day that summer, after a fundraising breakfast at the ritzy Hamptons weekend home of New York venture capitalist Alan Petrikoff, Hillary walked into the kitchen and started talking to Petrikoff and her finance director, Jonathan Mantz. Petrikoff noted that Obama was taking in money by selling T-shirts, buttons, and posters with his campaign logo on them. "He's got a retail merchandise business going," Petrikoff said. "Why aren't we doing more of that?" Hillary turned to Mantz and repeated the question, "Why aren't we doing more of that?" But before Mantz could answer, Clinton began to unravel. "We're losing the small donor race," she said, her voice starting to rise. "Why are we losing? What do we need to do? I just don't understand." Hillary was nearly screaming now. "Gesturing outside," she exclaimed. "Why don't we have the merchandise being sold out back? We could have set up tables in the back." There were a lot of things Mantz could have said. Because you're not leading a movement. Because your donors aren't college kids. Because we're in the Hamptons and you don't hawk souvenirs on the lawn beside the swimming pool. Instead, he thought, wow, this is the angriest I've ever seen her. And then simply said, "I'll fix it." Okay, time for a random reading from Ain't No Trust. I'm not doing a lot of explaining about this. It's just a random reading. A couple paragraphs, and that'll be that. Okay, so we ended last night. Bethany was saying, had it not been for a guy who took her in, that she'd probably be out on the street. Bethany also doubted that employers could be trusted to treat her fairly. This distrust, like her distrust of her caseworkers, kept her out of the labor market at times. For instance, her concerns about one work supervisor led her to leave the job and return fully to the welfare roles before eventually cycling into another job. Bethany's brother had gotten her the job at the lobby concession stand in the downtown office building where he worked. At first, Bethany enjoyed the position and appreciated the new skills it gave her, but as time wore on, she became increasingly displeased with her boss's shirking of duties while talking on the phone and requests that Bethany run personal errands for her. Bethany was happy to work hard, running the cash register and stocking the shelves, but she felt disrespected when her boss insisted that Bethany do tasks like picking up prescriptions for the pharmacy. The last straw came when Bethany refused on the job. So I don't know. Stealing out of the safe. Things was missing out the storeroom. People would walk off with candy or whatever. Then me and this other coworker, we was like new to the job. So it was like trying to point the finger at us. And it's like, wait a minute, hold up. I'm not going through this. I told my brother, I'll leave the job before I sit here and put up with that and be ridiculed like that. And we come to find out it was two people that had been working there all along. We was like, see? And that happens. They blame the new people in the workplace, claim they stole something, or they blame people after they leave. Alrighty, well, that's it for tonight's live reading. This is Shantae, the highly underestimated, undervalued, highly marginalized, and now diminished, beautiful woman. Wishing you the best. Have a great evening. God bless.